Hi, everyone. I'm Juliana Blonder. My husband and I own the Blonder Group, a real estate team here in Fort Collins. Thank you for joining us on our 12 Days of Holiday Giving series, where we highlight local businesses or nonprofits in our community. Today, we're with Brad, a local Fort Collins resident, and he is the director of Outreach Fort Collins. So it's a street-based outreach program where folks are on call to provide situational response for issues of disrupted behavior, physical and mental health safety concerns, and just a general resource inquiry. Brad, thank you so much for being here with me and your time. And we'd just love to hear a little bit about your story and Outreach Fort Collins.
Yeah, thanks for having me. This is
Yeah.
already awesome.
Yeah.
So I started as the director of Outreach Fort Collins about 2 years ago after working at a place called Harvest Farm up in Wellington, which is a farm slash recovery center for men struggling with addiction. I was just trying to find a little something new in my life and
Mm.
stumbled upon OFC. OFC's been around since 2016. It was created by a group of stakeholders locally in Old Town and downtown Fort Collins who were just seeing a rise in disruptive behaviors, making folks uncomfortable and not having a really tangible, dynamic, creative solution for taking care of those issues. Because a lot of these disruptive behaviors that happen, despite how uncomfortable and unpredictable they are, they're not illegal. So if we call the police on these folks, the police aren't going to do anything because there's nothing they can do. And B, typically a police interaction with somebody who's been in the homeless community is going to escalate things, even if that police officer has the best of intentions,
Best
which many times
intention.
he or she does have.
Mm-hmm.
We work pretty closely with the police here in D1, and they've just been phenomenal partners with ours, and they just call us in because we're in their tool belt and vice versa. So if there's somebody who's having a mental crisis, a mental health breakdown, for example, maybe as a result of illegal drugs or just because of mental health issues, there's in Old Town Square, for example, anybody in Fort Collins can call us, whether that's 911 dispatch, you at your home who happens to be shopping, and we will drop everything and we will send a team of two to de-escalate that situation and hopefully, and this is the key, get that person connected to a supportive service or resource so that he or she can get to a better spot instead of just kind of ignoring the problem or making it escalate so that person gets thrown in jail, which is throwing that like hamster wheel system keeps on rolling. And then you got a guy or a gal who's in the system and they get in jail time, they get that on the record, they get out, and we as good Fort Collins citizens expect them to just excel and behave better as a result of jail. And
Yeah.
a lot of times that's simply not realistic. So we try to provide folks with means in which they can get tools to better themselves. And sometimes it's winter time. It's winter in Colorado. It's going to get really crazy cold. It was a couple weekends ago. And I feel like the ante is kind of higher these days because if we don't make some connections with folks out there, they could really endanger themselves because freezing in Colorado is a real thing, as you
Yeah.
know, as a Colorado
Yeah.
resident. So one of the main partners that we have is we connect folks to Shelter, Fort Collins Rescue Mission, Catholic Charities, just wonderful partners of ours.
That's amazing. So, I know there is plans for the new shelter. Is that gonna be the same contact people for you guys, or is that gonna change?
Same contact people, it would just be a different location. And
Right.
that mission is still in its talking stages. I think they've gone a pretty long way.
Yeah.
My response to all of those things is no matter where they put it, we have no influence over that. They're partners of ours. We work with them, but we don't work for them, obviously.
Right.
So my response to all of that conversation is no matter where the shelter goes in Fort Collins, we're going to follow that because
Right.
there might be some need around the orbit of the mission. And so my hope is that if it does go up there on North Fort Collins, that the folks up there, including Hickory Village, the trailer park for the senior citizens, just been really wonderful and really vocal about their concerns. Hopefully,
Yeah.
they can lean into us so that we can support them as well, because we're not simply a homelessness organization. We're a community organization. So, yet, while yes, we're here to help those who are experiencing homelessness, we're also here to help those who are seeing the negative effect of those, whether those are community members, service providers, police, EMTs, you name it.
Right. Yeah, that makes so much sense. Can you tell us kind of like what one of your great success stories would be? I think that'd be so awesome for our people to hear.
Yeah, we have a lot. The one thing that really jumps to mind is in September of last year, we expanded our services down to Midtown. So instead of
Mm,
just being in downtown and North Fort Collins, we
mhm.
expanded down the entire College Avenue retail corridor, which
Okay.
includes Foothills Mall. And when we moved down there, we really discovered a lot of people who are very intentionally off the radar. Like they
Right.
don't want to come up here,
Right.
they don't want to be seen. They don't want to go to services. They just kind of have their thing going
Right.
and be off of everybody's radar, even people who care about them, even folks who have their best interest in mind. So we
Wow.
came across somebody when we made that expansion in September. We came across somebody who had been in the homeless community for almost 20 years. And
Wow.
he had been struggling. Um, Obviously, he had a lot of physical problems. Um, but just never could trust other people to really help him because being in the homeless community sometimes in drug culture, you get into relationships that are merely transactional. So
Yeah.
you will be my friend if I can get something from you, and vice versa.
Right.
Um, and so I think he'd been burned a few times by some of those relationships. And our outreach specialist, and I need to be really clear, I was not the person who's just my staff, not me,
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
made these just kind of intentional touches and just made we call them just proactive outreach where we just go up to people and say hello and introduce ourselves and give a fist bump. How you doing? How are you?
Yeah.
Say a
Recognize
name and
that. Mhm.
say a name. Hey, Juliana, how are you today? Because
Yeah.
so many people have been nameless and voiceless, and this is why I say the phrase "in the shadows" a lot. Is that's how they've
Mm.
been for a lot of their lives.
Yeah.
And eventually, that person, I'm just going to fast forward a lot, started talking that change talk that we really talk about. And this person had some service history as a veteran. And we actually got this person connected into permanent supportive housing. And within a matter of weeks, he has a shelter over his head
Oh,
in permanent supportive housing unit. So, and
oh,
he's still there, by the way.
oh,
So,
good.
when we talk about our homeless problem, it's not our homeless problem. It's a community management. Like I believe that even people that we are not comfortable with, if we're going to use this community word accurately, they're a part of our community as well. Even if we don't disagree, even if we disagree with some of the lifestyle choices they've made, disagree with how they look, smell, talk, yell, drink, use, it's irrelevant to me. When
Mm,
I die, I want people to say that that dude, if he had an error in his life, he cared for people too much. And I'm really blessed to be with a staff of people who feel the exact same way, are
mm,
completely client-centered, trauma-informed, and want to meet people at their point of need, and they don't make any moral judgments about how he or she got to a specific place in their lives.
mm. That is so beautiful. I'm almost speechless. Thank you for sharing that. That is
Of
so,
course.
so important to hear. I've never heard it put that way of, I always come from kind of the same eyes of, they're still part of the community, but how do we integrate with them and make them feel, unjudged and still part of the community, but also keep them safe, and no one deserves to feel, all the horrible things I'm sure they feel. So what would um I guess the biggest advice from you would be if you do see someone that needs help to call your number. Is that the
Yeah.
best way?
Yeah, and that's what we say to everybody. If you have a question or if you're in doubt, like give us a call
Yeah.
because we part of our work, we're on the streets all the time. Like half
Yeah.
of my staff is not in this office right now because we're
Right.
just out on the streets walking around
Right.
making connections.
Okay.
So
Mm.
a lot of the times we'll actually know who this person is,
Mm.
which is kind of key, right?
Yeah.
So if I'm having an issue or if I'm having a problem, and somebody that I don't know comes up to me and says, "Hey, how you doing, buddy?" Like, you know, I might be a little defensive and protective of myself and kind of
Yeah.
cocoon myself up. But if
Yeah.
you know that, oh, I've met Wes and Jasmine and Dylan and Kaylee before, I've met them and they
Yeah.
have my best interest in mind, that'll
Yeah.
kind of let it the guard down a little bit, and we can assist a lot more easily. So, I mean, a
Right.
lot of times there are sometimes if somebody has a safety concern, that's something that we do too. Like a lot of folks from Fort Collins, like God bless, like some wonderful people in this city
Yeah.
who just say, "Hey, man, like I've seen this guy but on this counter or this gal on this corner, and I'm just concerned about her. Could
Yeah.
you guys check on her?" And we take those really seriously
Yeah.
because while we do want to check on how that person's doing, we also want to honor that phone call and that community member who is concerned. And sometimes we'll have the fortunate uh, po possibility of like following up with that caller, and we
Mhm.
can just say, "Hey, we do have confidentiality agreements with folks. We can't give too much away, but I just wanted to give you an update on this, and this." And we
Love
really
that.
just appreciate that call. Fort Collins is a great place. We have a lot of wonderful, concerned folks in our community. So this is a really great place to work. But I want to like emphasize one other thing too is like I don't want to deny the fact that homelessness gets messy sometimes. And there are some people in our community who are really mad about homeless folks and about people who are experiencing homelessness and the results of it, like whether it's garbage or needles like sitting around in like playground or stuff like that, or vandalism that might happen in certain areas. Like
Mhm.
that's real stuff.
Yeah.
And when people bring that to me and my team, like I'm not going to argue with that because I agree with it. I
Right.
totally agree with it. When I walk my kid down the street, I don't want to get yelled at or harassed or step over dirty needles and stuff like that, right? And
Yeah.
so it kind of goes back to what I was saying earlier. Like we're here for Fort Collins as a community, not just for one specific niche of it. So um, a lot of times I never use the word hate, but I hate homelessness
Yeah.
because I hate it that people don't have a shelter. I hate it that people have to sleep outside because they don't have the funds. I hate that certain people in our country make $80 billion a year, and there's a tent city in one of our natural areas. But I
Yeah.
also hate the effects of homelessness that we have to deal with as people who quote unquote play by the rules. Like
Mhm.
whether that's needles or vandalism or crime, whatever. So um, instead of sitting behind a keyboard and being angry into my little Colorado in comments section, I choose to try my best to work at this problem instead of being a chicken.
Yeah, 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 a keyboard warrior and
That's too
someone who's
much.
just gonna sit and complain
Right.
and say, well, we have these resources, so
Right.
let's use them. And this is so incredible. Thank you so much for saying all that. Is there anything else you'd like to add or any events you have coming up that we can promote?
Yeah, we're actually not big event people, but next Thursday on the 14th of December, there's going to be a fundraiser. There's a local singer-songwriter named Lewis Turner. He's going to be there with a full band. Um, and at the Aggie Theater from 7, doors open at 7. I believe the show starts at 8. From 7 to 11, Outreach Fort Collins is going to be there, including me.
Oh, so fun.
We're going to be there, and we're
Going
going to be
out.
doing some raffles for some folks who are going to be sponsoring the event. And it's going to be like I was just at the Aggie this morning. I met the GM, and it's going to be a blast. It's going to be really fun. So if
It is
anybody's
so cool.
interested in like supporting our work, obviously I don't want to force anybody to do that, but it's also going to be really good music. This seems like a really wonderful singer-songwriter. And
Is he
it,
the one you posted the other day? Yeah,
yes,
he's
that's
great.
and by the way, it's a plaid party. So you
Yeah,
you are highly encouraged to dress in plaid, which to me is kind of
that's like
like my
Fort
day.
Collins
It's
in a
just like my
nutshell.
right,
Like
right.
that's every
Everybody,
day.
it's not going to be hard, people. Jeez, Louise, it's not going to be hard. So yeah, and so if you wear plaid, you get a free ticket for something. I don't know if
Yeah,
they confirmed it yet, but it's going to be awesome. I like surrounding myself with good people, and encouraging fun people, and that's going to be one of those nights. So yeah, come on down.
that's so awesome. We'll definitely
Yeah,
put that and link that. We'll link your website. We'll make sure to link that event if it has anything, and we'll link your Instagram. And I'm sure that's the good way. And then we'll put the number as well for
great.
people to reach out to if they need to use you as a resource. Brad, thank you so much. This was amazing. I so appreciate you and our community, and Jasmine and everyone that you work with on your team. You're absolutely incredible. And just I know I'm sure the holiday season is really busy for y'all. So just thank you and sending you strength and love to pass on to the folks who need it the most.
I appreciate that. I will pass that all on to my team as well, because they're the ones who are on the streets doing the hard work. They just make me look good, which requires a lot.
Oh, no. Well,
thank you so much.
So much, and have a good holiday season. We'll talk soon. We'll see you that December 14th at the Aggie from 7 to 11.
You got it. Well done.
Awesome. Thanks, Brad.
Thank you, Juliana.
Bye.